Radio. It is Tuesday, October 21st, 2025. You're on my 13-mile commute home. Welcome to the show. All right, well, we're going to be talking all about Vegas this show. So if you don't give a rat's ass about my trip to Vegas, you can tune out now and know that you're not missing anything. Because that's all we're going to talk about is the trip, the fun, some of the little surprises along the way. We'll talk about the Wizard of Oz at the Sphere. We're going to talk about the Stratosphere. We're going to talk about a couple of adult shows we went and saw. Good stuff. So you'll want to stick around for this one. Damn, there's so many homeless people down here. I almost can't avoid them. I swerve to avoid the potholes, but then I can't avoid the homeless people. All right, come on, pal. Are you coming across or what? Let's do it. Come on. Thank you. All right. Well, hey, so no show yesterday. You're probably saying, Shane, don't you normally go in on Mondays? So I'll give you the ending part of, I'll give you the ending part of the vacation. On Friday morning, actually it was more like Thursday night, I started having some discomfort in my lower left quadrant. And it wasn't super pleasant, and it got worse. And so Friday we got home, Friday afternoon, and I ran to urgent care, right? Because I figured if it's what I think it is, I'm going to want to start getting on some treatment. So, maybe I can salvage something of the weekend. So, my issue, as I predicted, was diverticulitis, which for those of you who are curious from the medical perspective what that is, you could Google it, or I could just tell you. So essentially in the intestinal tract, right, you can get these little dips, these little pockets, and the little pockets sometimes get stuff stuck in them, like seeds or pieces of nuts, right? I eat a lot of nuts, so my chances are pretty good. And it gets stuck in there, and if it doesn't come out, it starts an infection, right? So it starts to swell, get inflamed, and that triggers your lymph node, right? That's right down by there. It triggers the lymph node to go nuts, and now you're like groaning in side pain. So Friday night, I went to urgent care. I got diagnosed. They gave me some meds, and now I'm on these gigantic horse pills. I stayed home yesterday, right? Because I was they said, oh, you should be good by the end of the weekend. But at the same time, I got to sit and drive. I've got to, sit at my desk. I'm going to move around. It was just like, you know what? I'll take the sick day, right? I've got sick days falling out of my ass. I'll take a sick day, and then we'll do the show today. So there you go. Now we're doing the show today. So yeah, right now it's not too bad. I can feel it. It's down. I can feel like pressure-ish down in that area, but it doesn't hurt or stab or radiate down my leg. So, hey, anytime you're not radiating down your leg, that's a plus. There we go. Get the sun out of there. All right, so let's roll back. Let's talk about the good part of the week before the diverticulitis showed up. Because something bad has to happen every Vegas trip, right? So we haven't been to Vegas in years. We've been delinquent in our Vegas residency. So we always stay at a hotel called the Circa. You've heard me talk about it before. I'm going to talk about it again. It's downtown, not on the Strip. It's downtown. It's new-ish, right? It's built in the last 10 years. Really modern, fairly expensive, but 21 and over. You can't even get into the facility without showing your ID. So there's no kids running around. There's no rooms next to you or below you or above you. A bunch of nonsense going on. Well, there's always nonsense, but at least it's not kids doing the nonsense. So there you have that. So yeah, so Circa's great, and it's right there. So, like, when you think downtown, you think Golden Nugget, you think Double Queens or whatever, and then you think the Plaza, right? Well, the Plaza, we used to stay there all the time because it is dirt fucking cheap. Like, we paid, I think at one time we went, we paid $39 a night. That's how cheap the Plaza is. So, yeah. But it's a really old-ass hotel. It's got plenty of kids, plenty of noise. You might get lucky, you might not. A lot of the rooms face Fremont. So, yeah. It's nice, but it's not nice enough, right? Not anymore. We're spoiled by the Circa. So when we go to the Circa. If we can't afford to go to the Circa, we can't afford to go. Simple. And plus, the Circa is right there on Fremont. So I can just go down the elevators, pop out the door, and I'm right on Fremont. And if you saw any of my videos, the shorts that I was posting while I was gone, Fremont is amazing. So you've got the freaks, right? Freakmont Street. You got the freaks during the later part of the day and early in the night, and then at night you've got all the live music and you've got all the lights and the shows and the pompous going on. It's unbelievable. So yeah, so we love it right there, and Fremont's got like every kind of food you want. Italian food, you want shitty American pizza, you can get it there, anything you want. And of course there's all sorts of convenience locations there, right? So there's like a Walgreens and all this other shit. So like anything you need is on Fremont. So no reason to be at the Strip. But this visit, we had to go to the Strip. So we had three things planned for this trip, and we did all three of them, plus some bonus stuff. So there are two major topless reviews at in Vegas, right? The ones that you hear about all the time. If you're downtown, if you're on the Strip and you see signage, you're probably going to see signs for these. And the two shows are Fantasy, which is at the Luxor, which is that big pyramid-looking motherfucker that you see in the videos with the Sphinx and shit sitting outside. We've stayed there too, and that is a kid trap. So if you want lots of noisy kids, lots of conventions, lots of sporting teams, you know, like when they have a volleyball tournament or a little league baseball tournament in Vegas, they all stay at the Luxor. So you decide if you want to stay at the Luxor or not us. So Fantasy is there at the Luxor, and then we were going to go see something called Rouge, which is at the Stratosphere, the one that looks like the Space Needle. That's at the far end of the Strip. So, and then we wanted to go see, of course, the Wizard of Oz at the Sphere. And that was like a full-blown deal. That was like something every day. And when you're in Vegas and you're doing all this running around, the times that you're not running around, you want to eat, sleep, and relax. That's why we get the suite at the Circa, right? Because if you're going to spend that kind of time in your room, you might as well do it in luxury. And the Circa suite is fucking unbelievable. Full bar, fridge. It's basically like an apartment. You got the separate bedroom. You got the king-size bed that folds out of the wall, the Murphy bed. It's amazing. And it's all high-tech, right? You don't even have a phone. It's all done with an Alexa box. Which, of course, my wife and I are Google Home Assistant people, so it was kind of weird dealing with Alexa, but it is what it is. Hey now, welcome to the show. So this was kind of crazy, but we originally weren't going to do anything Tuesday night because we were coming into town, wanted to check into the hotel and just chill, have a little Saginaw deli, right? Which is amazing. Listen, if you stay at the Plaza, you stay at the Double Queens or the Golden Nugget, whatever, work your way over to Circa and go to the Saginaw Deli. It is unbelievable. And if you're a fan of Professor of Rock, their icon is this dude that looks exactly like Professor of Rock. The Zini glasses, the hat, everything. He looks exactly like him. So look it up if you don't believe me. So Saginaw is like where we have almost every meal, and it's amazing. It's so great. So we were going to do nothing on Tuesday when we came in. Now, I had the week off. So normally, like, we have to leave when my wife gets off work, right? Because we usually go over like a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So usually it's like my wife will get off a couple hours early. We try to get out of the house by 2 p.m. That's a 4.5 hour drive. So by the time you get there, it's almost 8 or 9. You check into the hotel. You don't want to do anything. Maybe go down and look at the freaks for a little while. But that's about it. But Tuesday, we could leave whenever we wanted. We were both off. And so it's a 4.5 hour trip. So we decided to leave and get there by 3:30, right? That was our destination time. Check in at the Circus at 4. So we figure we got some stops. Maybe there's some traffic, some road delays, whatever. that would get us there by 4, because first come first serve when it comes to the suites, right? If you want a suite that's not facing Fremont, your ass better be one of the first people there, because that's what they do. They assign all the good suites to the early people, and then all the shitty suites. I mean, I know, shitty suites, right? Boo-hoo, first world problems. But you're facing Fremont, and that live music runs till like 2 a.m. So it's like, fuck, man. You want to get any sleep at all, you need to be facing the mountain, not facing Fremont. So if you check into the Circa, make sure you ask them for a room facing the mountain, not facing Fremont, because they'll throw your ass right at Fremont if you don't say anything. So we made great time. We got there by 3:36. No incidents, right? It was nice and quiet. Didn't almost run out of gas like the one time we went to Vegas, dumbasses. We're so excited to go to Vegas that we didn't fill the tank. And then by the time we realized that we were going to run out of gas, we were at that dead part of the trip where there's like no gas for 50 miles. Yeah, we were on 0 for like 45 miles. 0 miles left on the tank. I can't believe we made it, but that's another story. All right, but we decided like on Sunday, it's like, you know what? We're going to be in early on Tuesday. Let's get another show in. So that's when we decided to catch Fantasy. All right, so we get in, we check in, everything's fine. We grab a quick bite to eat. Now, Fantasy is at the Luxor. That's about a 20-minute drive away from the hotel. Now, getting around Vegas, for those of you who haven't been, getting around Vegas, there's a few schools of thought. We drove, so we have a car, right? And that sounds great. It's like if you take a flight in, then you have to like Uber everywhere. You have to get a taxi everywhere. You're sitting there, fuck that. We'll just drive, and then we have a car. Yeah, you don't want to drive in Vegas if you can help it. Aside from the fact that it's a complete fucking nightmare, at least the cab drivers and the Uber fuckers, they know which back roads to take and all that shit. Google can only take you so far, right? So we decided we were not going to drive to any of our venues. Plus we could get fucked up, right? You can't, one of us has to stay I'm not even sober now. One of us has to stay sober if we're going to drive. Well, fuck that. We wanted to get fucked up, right? So we decided we were going to Uber and taxi everywhere. So there is a light rail or a monorail down there, but you got to really plan ahead to use the monorail. So you're going to use taxis or rideshare. They're all basically the same thing. But I will tell you, here's a little piece of awesome advice for you. And I bet this is every major city when it comes to Uber versus taxis. Cabs don't surge charge where Uber and Lyft and everybody does. So if you're sitting in your room at, say, 4:30 in the afternoon, trying to decide when you need to leave so that you can get to the venue by, say, 8:30, the prices at Uber are going to change by the minute. Whereas if you look at the cab prices, the cab is usually going to be within a few cents either way. So, by the way, the cabs are all linked up to this thing called curbside or curb something. Curb ride, maybe, I don't remember, but yeah, so it's all app driven now. So you literally just put your payment processor on your phone, and you type in the cab number or scan the QR code. You don't even have to talk to the guy. You get in, you scan, you push the button to say okay, and you leave. That's it. That's all there is. So it's a lot like rideshare, only it's by like professionals that have been driving there for 30 years versus somebody who's throwing a little extra cash in their pocket by driving their car around. So we did take one Uber because, and I'll get to that. Never mind. Let me draw back. So we took taxis everywhere. So down to Luxor is about $26 in a cab each way. Keep that in mind. Now, if we drove, we would have had to have dealt with all the bullshit of driving in Vegas, which sucks, and we would have had to pay $30, $40 in parking and wait for the valet to get your car at the end, yada, yada, yada. So it costs more, but at the end, it's worth it. Take the damn taxis. They're everywhere, except one place, and I'm getting to that. So Fantasy is a smaller dance show where basically there's like 10 dancers. They're all really good looking. They're all topless through most of it, and they're doing cool shit. They're doing like aerial silks. They're doing these intricate dance numbers, right? But the interesting thing about Fantasy, it's a smaller show. I thought it would be bigger, but it's okay that it was smaller. They offered a VIP tour prior to the show. Didn't include it in the show price though. So literally you bought a ticket. These were $65 tickets. That's not bad. Let's Vegas. $65 is nothing in Vegas. $65 is barely a meal in Vegas. So we had seats. We had great seats. I got the best seats in the house. Well, second best seats. Otherwise they were booked. We booked late. And so we had really good tickets, but if you wanted the VIP tour, you had to buy those tickets separate, and they were basically the same price as the show. Shit, man, that better be a damn good tour. That's all I can say. $65 each, mind you. So you show up, right? So you go up to the Luxor. I'm gonna embellish a little bit. So we got to the Luxor, and so the first thing we do when we get to any of our venues is we find out exactly where we need to be, what door, what floor, everything. And then we can go fuck around until it's time for the show, right? Or whatever it is we're doing. So in this case, we look around. We know it's at the Luxor Theater, right? Okay, so we follow the signs, right? That's all. But the Luxor Theater door looks like a security door. It doesn't look like a lavish venue entrance. It looks like. So if you know the Luxor at all, there's like this on the second floor. There's like this big totem pole looking thing right in the middle of the pyramid, and there's like the Titanic exhibits, the bodies exhibits, and then there's like a bunch of fantasy signs in this little alcove that has like a steel security door. You're like, fuck, is that the theater? Because fuck, dude, I think some big scary bouncer looking fuckers are going to come out of there and tell me not to loiter. That's what I'm thinking is happening. So we finally decide that that's got to be it, but we don't wander too far just in case we're wrong. Right across from there is a place called the Diablo Cantina, and so we just started getting drinks. Yeah. And then this guy that was at an Oracle convention, like everybody at fucking Oracle was in Vegas last week. It was the guy that we were talking to said there were like 13,000 Oracle fuckers just at that area that they were at. And so he chatted us up, and we were making small talk and talking shit, and he was pretty fucked up. He'd started way before we did. So we had a couple of drinks. We didn't get too fucked up because we were going to drink in the venue too. So we left him. And we went over and we stood there because you're supposed to show up for the VIP tour 15 minutes early, and our VIP tour was at 9:30, show at 10:30. Now listen, boys and girls, we're professionals. Our asses are in bed like by 10 o'clock. So, this is why we had a nap. We went back to the hotel and we fucking slept, and then got up and had something to eat and came to the venue. So we're sitting there, and like it's almost like Wonka's factory. Fuckers were going into that door, but nobody was coming out, and nobody was telling us what was going on. And so like 9:30 showed up, and then it became like 9:35, and then 9:40, and somebody sneaked out that door, and it's like, VIP? It's like, yeah. And they're like, okay, we'll be out for you in a couple of minutes. I'm like, why didn't you just come out when you were ready to get us and take us in? Whatever. I fucking find out what's going on. So the VIP, apparently, according to all their documentation, is they have a very small group before each show. So they don't take more than 12 reservations. Maroon 5, yeah, nice. That was that at the Sphere? I'm gonna get to the Sphere. Give me a minute. So the VIP is supposed to be limited to 10 people. It was a Tuesday night, folks, off season. We were the only two VIP, and that's the way you want it to be, right? You want to be the VIP of the VIP, and that's what we were. So just so you know what's going on, right? So you know what the VIP thing actually is. So you go in, and they say, okay, go ahead and go over here. There's like this big counter with a bunch of merch behind it. This guy standing behind there. There's a couple of seats, but not a lot of seats. And so, God, I don't know if there would have been 12 fucking people there. No one would have had any place to sit. There were 2 seats, so we each got a seat. And so the guy's like, okay, we'll get started in a minute. So I'm like, I don't even know what this is. There's a dearth of information out there on this VIP tour. Like, nobody will tell you anything about it. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. Nobody's talking about it. Nobody writes about it. You don't have any pictures. You don't have any clue what the fuck's going on. So we didn't know. Now I've written some documentation. There's some stuff floating around the internet now, so people who are going to search for it are going to find it. So the guy's like, okay, we're going to start a video. And there's like, I mean, you would think this is like Vegas, but they had like a CRT, like an old CRT screen in the middle of the merch. I think I have a picture of it. And so they give us this, this is the fantasy show. We've been doing this for 25 years. The whole, the little, here are the beautiful girls you're going to see dancing tonight, yada, yada, yada. And so once the show is over, it's, I don't know, it's like 3 or 4 minutes. It wasn't really a show. He's like, okay, well, as soon as your tour guides are ready, they'll come and get you, and you guys will go in for the tour. So the tour guides are 2 of the dancers that are dancing that night. So you kind of get a preview of, oddly enough, who you're going to see mostly naked later. It didn't seem awkward at the time, but talking about it now, it's like, oh, hey, I'm going to see both of you naked in a couple minutes, right? Yeah, okay, great. So they take you and they give you a photo opportunity in the lobby where you would normally wait if you were not a VIP person. They hadn't started general admission yet, so it was just us. And apparently we were introduced to the producer, which apparently is something that never fucking happens. The producer is never there, and to meet and shake hands with the producer, this looked like a little Hasidic Jew woman, right? We got to shake hands and say hi and blah, blah, blah. And later on, we were told, like, that never happens. You never, ever get to meet the producer. It was a rare treat, and maybe they were just saying that, but I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. So then they take you up this spiraling pathway that would go up to the theater, and every one of the girls that dance there. Now remember, this is like a professional production, right? This isn't a strip club. This is a professional production. There's some money that's gone into this place. Every single participant of the show has this huge consigned, like, painting of them in there. It's unbelievable. And by the way, it's over glamorized, those pictures, so they don't look anything like their pictures. So fucking weird. But anyway, I understand what they were going for. So the tour guides will take you by each of the girls that are going to be there tonight. Now you got to understand, it's not the same girls every night, 365 days a year, right? They've got what they call drop-ins, or what they call them. There's a name for it. Anyway, so not everybody on the wall is going to be there that night. So they would skip the girls that weren't there that night, and they knew their backstories and everything. So it's like this, she's from Arizona, she's from Baltimore, she's from France, blah, 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 Colorado. So it was kind of cool. It was kind of cool that, like, it's not just a bunch of titties dancing on the stage. I mean, you kind of knew a little bit about each one of them before you went up there. So they took us through there. We went through there, and then they took us backstage, which was even more cool. We love that kind of shit. We love that sort of back, looking in the backside and seeing what's going on. And they showed us their little tiny dressing stations. But the coolest part was, from the view that we had, they had the stage side curtains pulled, so you could see out into the venue, and you could see the stage from that back stage point of view, which was really cool. And there were 5 of the dancers in their street clothes, which was also weird but different, right? So they're doing the final number, they're doing final rehearsals. So we got to see the sort of part of the final number before the final number, and they all weren't practically naked, right? So that was the end of the tour. They had security. It was a great tour. Then they gave us a bag of swag, which was awesome. I was hoping we'd have a little something to take home for $65 a head. Am I right? So we got this gorgeous color booklet, which turned out to be a huge thing. I'll get to that. And then inside you also had a poker chip, like a real Vegas poker chip, with Luxor on one side and Fantasy on the other, right? So it's branded. A Fantasy shot glass. And you got a VIP lanyard to wear around so that everybody treated you, like, you spent $65 more than the asshole beside you, right? Yeah, so we got this, and it was like really cool. It's like, okay, we have something to take home. We got a little swag. Sounds good. All right, so they take us back out and they take us back into the general lobby. Now the place is full. I had no idea what was Tuesday night at a titty show, right? I'm sorry, a topless review. I didn't know what that was going to look like. Who goes to that, right? Pervy old dudes like me, maybe, but like, who else goes? I mean, who goes to something like that? Turns out everybody goes to something like that. Right? So if you're thinking, oh, you know, I was going to ask the wife to go to one of these shows in Vegas, but, you know, there's going to be a bunch of like single straight dudes sitting there, blah, blah. Yeah, no. Everybody was there. Couples were there, young and old couples. There were a group of a couple of guys, right? They were just like, you know, like frat boys. There were handfuls of little of women that were coming together. Everybody goes to the topless review. So don't think, oh, he's guessing he goes to the topless review. No, everyone goes. All right, there is no specific audience for them. So that was cool. And then we go up and we belly up to the bar. Right, it's time to get fucked up. We've been through our tour. We have at least an hour and a half to get somewhat sober to get back to the hotel. So I go up. I buy a collector cup that you can refill for half price, which is still ridiculous amounts of money. Which unfortunately was not branded, right? So it was the Luxor cup. It wasn't a fantasy cup. I really would have liked to have had a fantasy cup, but no can do. So we got a bunch of booze, and they went in. It's a very small venue. We found out from the VIP tour that this theater used to be an IMAX theater 25 years ago. I don't even remember IMAX being around 25 years ago, but whatever. We all got to go in. We had assigned seats. Jesus Christ, I'm not going anywhere ever again that doesn't have assigned seats. So we parked it, and the show was basically this, right? So there's a hostess that comes out. She changes clothes more than I change socks. She's in a different outfit between each number. God bless her for changing so fast. But she comes out and does the crowd warm up, tells some really bad jokes, picks a few people in the audience to make her rubes for the night, right? Now, I'm going to tell you right now, for these Vegas shows, if you're foreign and don't look like you speak English and you sit up front, they are totally going to fuck with you. You are the perfect person for them to fuck with. Both shows, both Fantasy and Rouge, there were Asian people. I'm not trying to be racist here. There were Asian people sitting up front. English was not their first language. I personally guarantee it. And they all got it. So that's letting you know. If you're going to sit up front and you're Asian, make sure you speak very good English around them so they don't think that you're a good target. Unless that's what you want, right? Sometimes it's fun to be part of the show. And I'll get to that in a minute because I got to be part of Rouge. Crazy story. Hopefully I'll get to it before I get home. So anyway, so she comes out. It turns out she's also the singer of all the numbers, right? So she'll be sitting up to the side singing. Sometimes she'll get involved, and it's basically like almost like a little vaudeville type show. So there'll be a set piece, and they'll do some sort of a dance number around it. They'll do, like I said, the aerial silks were really impressive, and there's some of those girls, and I know this because of the VIP tour. See how much you learn? Some of the girls had been there for over 10 years. I mean, think about that. The average IT turnover for a developer or a tech support guy is 18 months. Some of these women have been here for over 10 years. That is crazy town. So they're professional dancers. This isn't, like I said, this isn't a strip club. This is highly choreographed, unbelievably cool dance numbers, and they obviously, some of them have obvious ballet experience. So here's the deal. This is what these shows are. These are how you get your wife to a strip club. Basically, if you want to see titties and you want your significant other there, or you don't want to be made fun of and, or be able to talk about it on the internet, right? You go to a strip club, you can't talk about it. You go to a titty review, a topless review in Vegas, you're okay to talk about it, right? Because that's normal. So anyway, so that's what these shows are, right? But it's, at first it's like, look, there's naked breasts in front of me. But pretty soon it becomes, they don't use it very sparingly, not at Fantasy anyway. So like pretty soon it's just part of the set. It's like, look at, there's like 12 boobs, and they're all right there all the time. Yeah, so they had like 10 different numbers, and they varied, like I said, they varied in types of numbers, what they were doing, how they were doing it. It was really good. It was really good. We enjoyed the shit out of it. It was a lot of fun. And again, so let me tell you what they did to the poor Asian guy up front. And you know, I know his name like the back of my hand. Misogyny. He had to say it to her like 700 times. Misogyny. And what's funny is he's got this big long name, and his wife's name was like May. May. That was her name, May. And they had no clue what the fuck was going on. They knew nothing, right? Again, yes and no was pretty much everything that came out of their mouth, other than the guy's name and her name. That was it. So at the beginning, they basically make him stand up and like bump his crotch against her head, which is hilarious, by the way. Don't ask me why that was funny, but trust me, in the context, it was fucking hilarious. And then later on, and she references, like, so what they'll do in these shows is they'll find somebody to reference, and that's the focus. Like, they have these pre-canned scripts where anytime they want to talk about X, Y, or Z and they want to include the audience, they have misogyny or somebody that they can just fall back on, right? It's perfect. It's very formulaic, but it works great. Then later on, so the hostess singer, he comes up to Mai, that's how his name, Mai, goes up to Mai and says, is it okay if your husband comes up to the stage? What's she gonna do? She's just like, right? She doesn't know what she said. I to this day, my wife and I both say she has no clue what she was talking about. So they like drag this poor guy up. Okay, now listen. This ain't no beefcake, okay? This was short, kind of fat and dumpy, not an attractive guy, right? Which of course made it even fucking funnier. So they brought him up there, and I don't remember what the prelude was, but they said, would you like to be in the show? Do you want to do something with the show? And he's just like, smiling. And so they take him off stage. They bring him back out like in full Elvis regalia. They got the fucking fake wig on him. He's got the guitar. They play some Elvis music. It's fucking scream. It was so funny. So again, you sit up front, you're going to get fucked with. Think of it as a splash zone. And the other guys at the neck, they got fucked with too. Not as much though. Poor Misogyny, he and Ma, they were the targets of that show. So the show was really good. It wrapped up. It's like an hour and 10 minutes, right? Not too long, no intermissions. It was really good. It was really fun. And that was Tuesday night. So now, it's late. We go back to the hotel. All we want to do is go to sleep. Next day, on Wednesday, we're going to see Rouge, which is at the Stratosphere, which is that big Space Needle thing at the end of the Strip in Vegas. You've seen pictures. And it's also the place that, this is how a lot of people know about the Stratosphere, not because they know that it looks like the Space Needle or that it's at the end of the Strip, but it's home to the dumbest fucking rides on the planet, thrill rides. Okay, first off, this thing is 110 stories tall. I know what you're thinking. 110, that doesn't sound very tall, right? Where do you get up there? It's tall. It makes the Space Needle look like a pussy. You know what I'm saying? At the top of that is a big fucking pole that they lift you up on and drop your ass. You know, you've seen those. I think they call it it goes by many names, but that's the idea. They drag your ass up really, really slow, then they drop your ass. But that's at like 113 floors above Vegas. Unfucking believable. People actually do that. There were people doing that while I was watching them. And I'm like, good fucking for you for doing that. I would not be doing that. It's also, the ride was closed, by the way, this other ride. The other ride is the one that kind of looks like a swirling octopus, and they put your ass over the edge of the Stratosphere, so you're basically on top of nothing. That ride was closed. And I got to see the ride. I took pictures of the ride, but it's like, there's no fucking way. What's wrong with people? Even in my youth, I don't think I would have done that. I'm not that fucking crazy. So anyway, so the Stratosphere was like, we were planning to just go to the show. That was it. But we got there and I'm like, you know what? I have to go up there. And she's like, there's no fucking way I'm going up there. And I'm like, okay, I think you'll be fine. Didn't you go to the top of the St. Louis Arch? She goes, I was scared shitless the whole time. I said, okay, fine. I'm going to go. And she's like, fine, I'm gonna go drink. And so she bellied up to the bar. She started drinking, and I hauled my ass because we had about an hour. We got there early enough where we could drink and we could just look around a little bit because we'd never been to the Stratosphere ever. Not for a show, not to just look around. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go. All right, so it costs money to go up there. You probably already figured that out. It's Vegas. Everything costs money. How much money it costs kind of surprised me. It's like $28 to go up there. Now, if you're staying at the hotel, it's $10. Now, they did ask me, are you staying at the hotel? Listen, Egon, when somebody asks you if you're a god, you say yes. But then I figured she'd want my room number. Maybe they could check it out, and then I'd look like a dick. So I just paid the extra $18 or whatever it was. So the elevator is not glass. Okay, everyone's like, "What was it like going up in the elevator?" You can't fucking tell. You could be on a 5-story building and you wouldn't even know, right? I mean, everything's enclosed. You can't see anything. But I will tell you, as you go up there, that fucking elevator shakes like a motherfucker. So, like, my wife would have probably been fine until the elevator started shaking, and then she would have said, "I'm fucking get me the fuck off," right? She would have been no fun at all, and she knows that, which is why she stayed behind. So I'm in there with 2 other couples, really tiny elevators too, by the way. But it's interesting. The elevators are constructed in a really cool way. I want to tell you about it. So we started going up there, and we're all kind of looking at each other like, so, what's going to happen? What do we think? What's going on? And then the elevator started shaking, and I looked down at I looked over at the other couple. I said, I'm so glad my wife didn't come. And they're all laughing. I said, she would have been fine till the elevator started shaking. So you get off, and when you get off on the 108th floor, you're inside an enclosure. I mean, it's all enclosed in. So there's no wind, there's no outside. You might as well just be on the ground in a restaurant, except for the view is unfucking believable, right? So I walked around the entire place. I looked at the strip. You can see the sphere from up there, and it looks like this little tiny ball. It's like, oh my God, this is so cool. Now, the other thing that's cool up there that you must try when you go is there's a place called 108 Snacks, and it's like a confectionery place. They make their own shit. So everything from the ice cream to the donut, they make their own waffle cones. It's unbelievable. So I had to stop. I got a little bowl of ice cream. I asked him what the house flavor was, and so I had that. It was really good. Now, I'm not going to have enough time to get into the Ruse show. But yeah, so that little area, there's tons of places to sit. So make your $28 worth. I had like 45 minutes to get my ass done and back down and get to the show, right? So I didn't have time to hang out. I just ran around and got some pictures and videos and shit. But there are like these beautiful couches up there. You can just sit there with a drink and a box of popcorn or a bowl of ice cream and just sit there and look. It's amazing. It doesn't spin or anything. You're just up there looking, and it's unbelievable. It's totally worth the trip up there. Now, if you really want to go up there, though, you got to take a set of stairs up to the 109, and there are these spinning glass doors that will take your ass out to the observation deck. That's where it's all open. That's where it's all kind of scary. If you're afraid of heights, forget about it. One thing I thought was really interesting, though, was, and I'm sure this is a normal thing for height attractions, but it's been a while. I live a very sheltered life. The railing all around the observation were spinning. You couldn't, you could get a hold of it, but it would roll. It would roll out of your hands. So I assume that's what they do to keep people from standing up on it, right? But it totally freaked me out at first. What the fuck's going on? What's going on? But yeah, so it's really awesome up there. There was barely any wind. There was no rain. It was gorgeous up there. And I was so glad that I decided I said, yeah, maybe this is good enough, the observation area. No, I got to go up to the deck. So I went up to the deck, and it's amazing. Highly recommended. That's where you could watch these assholes doing that dropping ride. Oh my God. Totally nuts. I mean, I can't even imagine it. I was freaked out being on the observation deck. Imagine being 6-8 more flights up or whatever and being on a machine that's going to drop your ass. Not for me. Anyway, yeah, and so when I came down, okay, since I've got a couple of minutes, but not enough to go on to the next show. So this is so weird. So there were 2 sets of elevators, A and B, and So I went over, I pushed the down button, which I don't know why that seems weird. Like, where would you be going up? But yeah, there's more floors up there, asshole. Of course, there's another up. So I push down, and the doors open, and there's nobody in there but the elevator operator. And he's like, are you going down? And I'm like, yeah. I push the down button, and the door's open, so I'm going down. He's like, you wait for the next one. I'm going up. Okay. And so the doors close, and I assume he goes up. The doors open again, and it's somebody different, but it's the same elevator. Wait, what the? Wait. Weren't you just an Asian guy like 2 seconds ago? And it turns out that the elevators are on top of each other. So the one on the top goes to the upper floor, and then the bottom elevator opens up to get the people going down. Fucking weirdo, man. I was like, am I having a stroke? You were Asian a minute ago, and now you're black. What's that all about? All right, that's going to do it, folks. This is Shane R. Monroe, Pastor C Radio. We'll see you next time. Take care.